much for tuning in. Um, as coincidence, both my wife and my son are sleeping, and that is actually just a very, very good thing. I think this might be a short broadcast. If you tune in, or if you're one of the many guests that I have invited, please, please beg my forgiveness. You can understand after 5 days of radiation, a child might sleep, or even an adult. And it was actually unexpected. But when I planned this, I just didn't think that he was going to be napping. But this makes me feel like he kind of wore himself out naturally, not necessarily radiation type of nap. Um, since I do have this running and everything, I would just like to say a couple of things here. Uh, my wonderful wife, Rebecca, posted a video this morning that pretty much summed up everything I've been trying to say. So I'm going to try to make her the number one spokesperson for Kallum from now on. You did a really good job, honey, and I love you so much. Um, I would also like to tell everybody that today, as of now, Callum has not gotten sick. His nausea has been able to be controlled. Um, a whole bunch of factors are involved, a little bit of luck, and lack of sleep on my wife's part and my own part. And that makes it a very fortunate day. I would also like to say that we talked to Dr. Lou
Knock, knock.
this morning. Hello, Patrick. Just one moment, please. I'm in the middle of a monologue. We talked to Dr. Lou this morning, and he has reassured me that he believes that we are on the right path here, and that we made the right decision.
Excellent.
I believe that these doctors are not just well versed in medicine, but also in psychology. So
Yeah, they
that's about
sometimes.
all I have to say.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you're finding some answers. Um, because I certainly couldn't suggest anything from here other than the friendly pat on the back kind of thing. Um, as long as you're
Yeah, you know,
as long as you're comfortable with the doctors you chose and things of that nature, and as long as you're not. um, I know you said something about being frustrated, because felt you weren't getting the answers, but if it was more of a, what's the word, an anxiety thing, and now you're saying that perhaps these doctors are smarter than you think or you thought. In other words, as long as you feel that you made the right decision and they're not screwing you around, they're not hiding things from you, um, and there seems to be doctor to doctor consensus. you know, I think you're doing all right. I couldn't imagine, because I never had. I mean, I had three kids. Had three kids. They're grown up now, but none of them had anything like that. Um, so I couldn't imagine what you're actually going through. But um, I'm pretty sure it gets to the point where sometimes you probably are not even thinking straight because you're just the anxiety gets you. I've been through some anxieties, and the anxiety sometimes makes you think the wrong things.
yeah. Um, no, the doctors we've had have been very good. They've done their best to accommodate us and answer all of our questions. What's scary is how honest the doctors are. Like in this particular case with the radiation, the doctors, when we ask particular questions about his speech delay and how the radiation is going to affect it, they cannot give us a direct answer. They know that the higher the radiation dose, the stronger the toxicity and more of a delay that they find, or even a speech problem. Um, it's very odd because I've never really heard doctors not say, "Oh, well, he'll have trouble pronouncing S's and P's, but in 5 years it'll be fine." That's not at all what they're saying. They're saying, "We don't know. His brain is too small. Everybody's individual, and this is your choice." And specifically, Dr. Lou's telling us he wants us to do as much radiation as we feel comfortable with. Well, I didn't graduate from high school. I am poorly educated. There's no, it's almost unreasonable to ask someone without any education for that kind of burden.
Wow. So I mean, you asked him for the recommendation. I mean, did you ask him, well, what do you recommend? Because I'm not sure about it.
Yes, and he recommends a certain number, and I ask him why he recommends that, and he says that it's because it's the standard for Callum's case and his age, and it's also the standard for the United States. He said that it's been the standard that way for about 15 years. That's his only answer.
Mm. Well, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. I have to lower the volume while I'm talking because I get that echo. Um, it's a double-edged sword because the doctors, like I said to you in the past, that are that honest with you, they're the ones that are actually doing the right thing. Because in science, we don't walk around telling people, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine. Don't worry about it." We don't do that. The scientists, they have their way of finding things out. The scientific method and their idea of how things should work. But like he said, every person is an individual, and the age, and all that stuff. If you're saying that he's being honest with you, that's actually a good thing. That means he's not trying to gloss over any of the concerns. So it's actually he's a better doctor than some, because some will do that. Some will just brush you off and say, "Don't worry about it. It'll be fine in 3 years." No, he doesn't know that. And there's nobody in their right mind that can know that. All he could do is give you the his experience in other cases, over the years. So so that's a good thing. I mean, it's a shame that there's no way of lessening it. It's radiation. It is radioactive, and it is you know in an uncontrolled situation. Radiation does damage the body. And it's being used to try and attack specific cancer cells. So it's not easy. Maybe not until our far future they'll have better ways of treating cancer that involve less radiation. But for now, that's what they've got.
Yeah, that's true, and I'm all for any tool that might possibly help my son. End of story.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad to see he's doing good, and I certainly hope that he makes it through without the fear of the major speech problems, things like that. But I tell you, sometimes like when I watched him with you, sometimes I can't understand him, and other times he'll just come out and clearly say something. Like he said, the telescope. I said, "What is this?" And you said, "He's a telescope," and he said that very clearly over a kind of a low microphone. So I think you know, maybe part of his speech is just, you know, so I know some kids were like lazy with their talking. I think our family was, but I have a daughter who is now in her 20s. Um, she was barely two, and you know how they talk when they're barely two. It sounds like their face muscles aren't capable of forming words, and so they sound like Brooklyn New Yorkers, you know. So we were driving to Grandma's house one day, and up north, and she was barely two, I think, and she was like, "Oh, look at the buds." It was springtime, and she was saying birds, but she was saying, "Look at the buds," you know, like a New York accent. And I'm like, "What do you mean, like the buds on the trees?" And she goes, "No, like they fly." I'm like, "Oh, the birds." In other words, she was, as far as the language capability, she was actually more advanced than my other two and other kids that I've known. But she was able to articulate what she was saying, even though, and she knew she couldn't say it. So you know, you have both sides of the spectrum. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do understand completely. There's some things that I've noticed. His speech is kind of here. We don't really know. He's our only surviving child, and so we've never had a 3 year old. So we don't really have a baseline. But I've noticed that he is saying, like, when he wants to communicate an idea or how he's feeling, he uses very deep, like, sentences. Considering he's 3 years old and doesn't even understand, I don't believe he understands half the words he even says. You know?
That's why I said, you know, he may actually, I think he does understand. He just may.
Yes, I think he really does.
I think he's having trouble with his, you know, the muscles that form the letters and your tongue movement, and or the like you said, maybe the speech control of the mouth, because
Yeah.
you know, when did he see a telescope? Did he see? I guess he must have saw one of yours. Um,
Yeah, we used to have two telescopes actually. One was kind of a toy for him, and the other one I actually lost in the pawn shop about 6 months ago.
oh, I see.
It was a nice Orion reflector. It was a 12 inch,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, we lost it. But things like that, you just kind of look back, and
Yeah,
say,
you'll
"Cool,"
get another
you
one.
know.
You get another
I
one.
don't care.
Yeah, you'll get another one if that's.
But yeah, we kind of like astronomy here. But I don't want to cut you off here, Patrick. I really enjoy talking with you. Uh, this particular broadcast is supposed to be about Callum with him up here, and he's not here,
Okay.
and he's sleeping and all. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and end this broadcast,
Alrighty.
and me and you can pick up here in just a minute. Don't hang up here, Patrick.
Oh,
But I'm
oh,
just going to
you
start.
want to talk? You
I'm,
want to you want to make one private? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you just stay right here. I'm just going to end the broadcast so we don't continue boring other people
Oh,
that
okay.
tune in to see my little boy running around. I would like to ask anybody who views this that they would stay in notification of us. Be ready because I will be having Callum on here in a couple hours from now. Uh, Certainly no later than 5 hours from right now. So thank you all for coming, and please join us again. Goodbye.